Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show. Real talk, big opinions, and fearless conversations. From the front lines of politics to the latest in pop culture. From breaking sports headlines to the stories that move the world. Nothing's off limits, and nobody's holding back. Arrington Gavin is here to break it down, build it up, and keep it all the way real. So turn it up, lean in, and let's get into it. This is the Arrington Gavin Show.
Hey, what's happening, family? Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show, your go-to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day, whether it's politics, sports, pop culture, or the latest buzz. Look, we're diving deep and keeping it real, so please do me a favor, kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation. Look, my friends, as always, I'm always thrilled to bring on special guests to have, as I mentioned earlier, great conversations. And on today's conversation, I'm honored to have on the Honorable Dr. Amanda Quillin. She serves on the Chesapeake City School Board. And one thing I'm always, pushing out to you guys is the understanding of how the understanding of politics is not just politics on a federal level, right? Because we always see what's happening in Washington on a regular through our national news cycle, or sometimes even through social media and through the digital space. But the importance of understanding local politics. Okay, we skip over all the time. We skip over local politics and we focus on what's happening in Washington, but it's great to be aware of what's going on in your own backyard. That being said, you have your school board, your city council. There's so many different positions, and I've shared a segment a while back, kind of during I call it off year or off season elections. But I was doing the segment where I was sharing a different political position each and every show we had. We had a new position, whether it was clerk of commissioner of revenue, city treasurer, the clerk, the city clerk, different positions like that. So I say all that because we have on quite often state elected officials, some federal elected officials, right, in different states and cities. And we also will bring on local elected officials, right? We have mayors, we'll have city council members, some that are candidates, and then we'll have school board members. And so I'm excited to have on Dr. Quillin because she's new to the school board, but also, keeping us on our toes, having an understanding of the position of a school board member, why it is so important to be aware of your school board, especially if you're a parent, right? Because I will be honest, I lack knowledge of school board, right? I don't focus too much on the school board. Yes, I'm aware of the positions, and I will always read up on stories, things that they, that they vote on, or new things that are or programs that are being brought to public schools. But I'm usually kind of distanced from school board. Well, one, I'm not a parent. Two, I was a private school kid, so I didn't go to public schools. And so I'm always like, I gotta keep on doing. I gotta improve on my homework, right? The more you know, the more you grow. It's never too late to build more knowledge. I feel as though we, in today's society, the world is lacking, knowledge, right? We have an administration that tries to change, history or rewrite history. And it's like, well, that's unfair, because the more you know, the more you grow, the more diverse in thought, the more you welcome different cultures, communities, you name it, know more about American history, right? It's always great. Again, the more you know, the more you grow. So I'm excited to have on Dr. Quillin on, and we're just going to have a great convo. As always, my friends, we always love to have great conversations here on the program. Before we move forward, I always have to thank you all for your continued support of the Arrington Gavin Show. As you know, we are growing each and every day. I see almost 5 subscribers per day, and we want to keep that momentum. Let's continue to build, y'all. As you all know, we are working on a campaign to hit to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you can do me a favor, like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with a family, share with friends, share with family. I truly appreciate it if you can get the word out, and if they want to, chime into some great conversation, great programs. Hey, the Arrington Gavin Show is the program for them. In addition to that, you can also watch us on Goatverse TV. That's right, Goatverse TV. You can check out past episodes of the program on demand. Ways you can check out those shows is simply by downloading the GoatVerse TV app. It's free. It's available on the App Store, Google Play Store, Roku, as well as Amazon Fire. And you can also listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's iHeart, Spotify, Apple, you name it. Just name a few. We're available on all podcast platforms. And then lastly, you can also listen to us on the radio airwaves. So shout out to our affiliates, WBOK 1230 AM and 107.1 FM in New Orleans. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show, 7 p.m. Central Time. Again, that's only on WBOK. And then we're going to head over to the Metro Atlanta area to WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then lastly, we've added a third affiliate. Shout out to our friends over in Las Vegas, KSHP 1400 AM and 107.1 FM. You can tune in starting March 6th. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show Fridays at 8 p.m. West Coast time, y'all. Okay, so every Fridays, 8 p.m. when you're on your way to the casino hoping to get lucky, right? You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show and enjoy yourself. Hopefully, if you win, don't forget your boy. Okay, look, break me off a little bit. I'm just saying, times is hard. I could use a couple of dollars in my pocket, right? So please help a brother out. Just please help a brother out. All righty, my friends. Look, we're gonna head to a commercial break. Do not go anywhere. We have a lot more show for you. You're listening to the Arrington Gavin Show. Don't change that dial.
Every man has a story to tell. Your ambitions, your achievements, your legacy. Your suit should reflect that story, crafted precisely, designed for impact, and tailored exclusively for you. We work with only the finest fabrics, luxurious wools, silk, linen, and blends from world-renowned mills in Italy, the UK, and India. These fabrics are the foundation of custom suits that exude elegance and stand the test of time. But a suit isn't just about fabric, it's about fit, and it's about confidence, and it all starts with you. When you work with me, you'll receive a personalized consultation, whether in person or over Zoom. Together, we'll explore your vision and discuss your needs. And we're gonna bring your ideas to life. My journey as a designer includes apprenticing under New York-based designer Clavon Leonard, showcasing collections at New York Fashion Week, Algeria Fashion Week, and the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. That experience is what we bring to every suit we create, from weddings to corporate events and everything in between. We specialize in crafting one-of-a-kind suits for life's most significant moments. Dapper Luke has been recognized as one of Baltimore's best menswear in 2023, and I was honored to be one of the 10 designers selected for the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. With over 900 satisfied clients, we proudly serve Virginia Beach and Baltimore, bringing world-class designs to these incredible communities. We don't just make suits, we craft confidence. Your suit will fit your body, your style, and it will tell your story. Book your free online personal consultation today. Visit www.dapperluke.com.
What's up, y'all? Welcome
And we still in traffic.
Don't look familiar, do I? Not in this seat.
Hey, what's that you listening to?
Here to host today.
Hey, turn it up. Yeah, that's that new GoatVerse app. I got you.
So y'all want to know where the goats are? They're off on the sidelines.
Looking for fresh, relevant content wherever you go?
What was the name of the app he said?
Introducing GoatVerse TV.
GoatVerse, that's what it's called.
The free streaming app that brings you the best podcasts, current events, and thought-provoking opinions all in one place. Download it now from the Apple Store or Play Store. In Goats, we trust.
6'10", #1 pick, 16 seasons, College Player of the Year, All-Rookie Standout. Joe Smith built a career on grit, consistency, and showing up.
Greatness isn't just about the game. It's about how you show up every day. Rugged Evolution now offers body care products for every man, because not every man wears a beard, but every man deserves care. Greatness doesn't fade.
It evolved. Rugged Evolution Beard Care. Every beard deserves to be legendary, and every man deserves care. All right, my friends, welcome back to the show. Welcome back. As I mentioned earlier, I'm honored to have on a special guest on today's show. I have on the Honorable Dr. Amanda Quillin. Let me bring her in. Dr. Quillin, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Can't complain. Look, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule as a well, as a city official and an educator here in the area. I know your schedule, and a mother and a wife. So it's a lot. You got a lot of titles. You got a lot of jobs. So I understand your schedule's all around the place. So I truly appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. First, I want to say congrats, because the last time I spoke with you, you were running for a school board here in the city of Chesapeake, which I always love to shout out my city, my home city of Chesapeake. Second largest population wise in the state of Virginia. So Chesapeake has a rich history. But that being said, large population means a lot of students, a lot of schools, a big task, big job. Before we get going on, all things, school board, convo, right? If you don't mind sharing just with the audience a little bit about yourself, just a brief background, and kind of, how did your background help lead you into pursuing, for one, the journey of running for Chesapeake School Board?
Yeah, awesome. And thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be on here today. I really appreciate how much you support our local candidates here in Chesapeake. So I actually started out in healthcare. I grew up in rural Eastern Kentucky, went straight to an x-ray program out of high school, became an x-ray tech, and I worked in direct patient care for about 15 or so years. And I really realized that I loved teaching. I loved precepting new students. I loved educating. And so I knew that I was going to need to go back to school for that. And so I was able to get my bachelor's when my kids were little. And honestly, I thought I was going to have a career in healthcare administration. That was my intention when I went back to school. And then in 2012, I had my own traumatic medical event and realized that I wanted to be on the side of the community. I wanted to be an advocate for the patients, not for the healthcare system. And so that led me into my master's, knowing that I was going to be some sort of educator, patient advocate, something along those lines. I became a certified health educator, and I started teaching at a local tech school here in Chesapeake. I was teaching medical assistants, and again, fell in love with teaching. And so I started working at EVMS and experiential learning, and I was so lucky to be able to pursue my doctorate there through some employee benefits that they had at the time to be able to get tuition waivers and such. And so it was kind of a natural path into educating. And now I'm a health sciences professor at Old Dominion. And those are my two passions: healthcare and education. Not just healthcare, but overall wellness, population health, public health. And I really feel like it was those two things that kind of led me down this journey. My love for health and the wellness of communities, especially underserved communities, growing up in one myself. And then my love for teaching future healthcare professionals, teaching current healthcare professionals, and really just tying all that together. I'm also a patient advocate, maternal health advocate. And that just it was a natural path to education. I was lucky enough that I realized a passion and I was able to pursue it.
That's awesome. And it's funny because then I mentioned what guests here before, and with the audience, I always love to send some topics of maybe what we're going to discuss for the on the show, and I always kind of just go off the cuff because new questions always pop up in my head, because I'm a conversationalist. Questions always pop up with, you mentioned healthcare, you mentioned education. Now I'm assuming to you is like one is not more important than the other, because it's like, okay, if you lack the education, that can hurt on the healthcare side. But then if like no healthcare, then it's like no education. So could you kind of expand for you how important both of those two, mean to you, and how important really it should be for most folks? Because really in today's society, there's folks that really they don't have health care, and that's not their fault. Sometimes that's just the current situation of how things are going. But also too, with lack of education, it's like, oh wow, what was I thinking? Because we're all continuing to learn. I always say I'm a student every day. Like I'm a forever student. I'm always learning new things that I was unaware of.
I could do a whole episode on the intersection of health and education. You've unleashed one of my soapbox issues. But They're definitely interconnected in so many ways. Health literacy is so important. And one of the reasons that we have a lot of the healthcare issues we have is because we don't, in our education systems, we don't prioritize health literacy. We don't teach people how to understand healthcare delivery. We don't teach people how to understand how to even decipher a medical bill, how to decipher health insurance, how to know what type of health insurances to sign up for, what questions to ask your physician when you're in the office.
Yeah.
And we need more education on those types of issues. From the education standpoint, our children can't learn if their basic needs aren't met, and healthcare is one of those basic needs. I think we like to imagine that every student that walks into a classroom is on a level playing field. They're sitting at a desk, they have their pencils and papers, and they're ready to learn. But we know that that's not the case. Kids come in from all different living situations, healthcare situations, food insecurity, housing insecurity, healthcare insecurity. And as we know, if you're, the hierarchy of needs, if your basic needs on the bottom aren't met, it's very hard for you to focus on anything above that. And so when we aren't prioritizing healthcare for our students, it's very hard for them to be successful in the learning environment. And so it's really just, you can look at how education impacts the health of the community, but then you can also turn that around and look at how the health of the community impacts our ability to learn. And so it's, again, I could go on and on, but I won't take up the whole
No,
show
you're fine.
talking about
You're fine because look, I thrive on conversation. I wish I can have this for 2 hours. But we kind of see it firsthand. I myself, I've done well, I still do. I do community service work here in the city of Chesapeake, and I've done it all over just the Hampton Roads areas and some overseas. And I'll just talk for Chesapeake alone. You would drive through certain communities where it's like, possibly a food desert, and you have the you have the mindset. Well, I hope that folks here are understand, have health care and this and that and the other. And most of the time it's like, no, they don't. As you mentioned, students have better a better time when they're at school than they do back at home. Some of them don't are not looking forward to going back home because of living situations and so on. That all being said, Dr. Quillin, what led you to say, okay, look, I see an issue happening in the Chesapeake public school system. I want to be that voice for the voiceless. I want to, take a leap of faith and run for Chesapeake City School Board. Again, a local position, a local elected position. And like, how was that? What made you want to pursue that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because this is something I never envisioned myself a politician. I never envisioned myself being
I tried not to say the P word. It's like, I know a lot of folks
I know, I don't either. An elected official, let's say that. I never envisioned myself being an elected official. But several years ago, like I mentioned, I got really involved with patient advocacy and maternal health advocacy. And through those roles, I was spending a lot of time in legislators' offices. I was going to DC. I was advocating for better maternal health legislation, better rare disease legislation, and just overall trying to promote better maternal health care and healthcare. And I was happy to do that. I was happy to be on the advocacy, the lobby side, to go up there with the groups and to advocate and say, support this bill. And I think I realized in recent years, especially with the new administration, evidence-based information is not being valued anymore. So you can go in these offices with all of the information in the world, and it kind of doesn't seem to matter at the moment. And I really just had this moment of realization that we can do a lot from this side of the table, and advocacy is never going to stop being important. And activism and lobbying is never going to stop being important. But how much more could I do from the other side of the table as a decision maker, as a voice in the room? And that's really kind of what got me thinking about it. And I thought about it for a while before, but my kids were young. My husband was still active duty. And so the timing all just kind of worked out after this most recent presidential election, when I started to see the decline in evidence-based reasoning and looking at facts and evidence. And it just felt more important than ever to run. I think that is why we saw more first-time candidates.
Yes.
And I think it's why we saw more female candidates. I think it's why we saw a lot of moms running, because a lot of us woke up asking, what can we do? What can we do? It's a helpless feeling. And I think a lot of us had that realization of how can we use our experiences and our knowledge, even if it's on a local level, even if it's on a small level at the end of the day. I think a lot of us ask ourselves, what can we do to do more? And for me, this was one thing that I thought of that I could do to do more. So
wow. How was that? And being, like you said, you were a newcomer to the world of politics, right? You were still, we advocating, you're visiting the Capitol, heading to Richmond. You were a newcomer, right? A newcomer to the world of politics. This was a new journey, a new field. And one thing that sucks about politics is, and for candidates, you see folks where, because I've encountered tremendous community activists where I'm like, why aren't you in the seat? Why aren't you? And we all know it takes more than just a voice to run for office. It takes the finances. It takes a lot. It's a lot of commitment to pursue, and even on a local, because really all politics is local, right? What I always tell folks, what happens in Washington trickles down on a state level, trickles down on a local level. Everything is local at the end of the day. But it is a lot. It is a journey. How was your experience during the just the campaign process? Was it say, did you learn new things? Were you I don't know, was it some heartache? Was it, how was that? If you don't mind sharing, some of the, moments of your campaign process.
It was really challenging as a newcomer. I have to say that our local Chesapeake Democratic Committee was amazing at helping me, endorsing me, helping me along the way. People who had already run, people who had already won, Dr. Pat King, Dr. Ella Ward, Malia Huddle, all of these people that have already won their elections and are already sitting in these positions really welcomed me with open arms and mentored me and helped me along the way. And so I'm really grateful for that. We had already been kind of plugged in with the CDC, so we knew a lot of the people that were able to help me get started.
Gotcha.
And so again, I'm very, very grateful for that. And really from then on, it was a learning experience. It was leaning on those people, asking questions, knowing what events to show up to, how to raise money, how to host a fundraiser, where to order your signs, how to support your union printing businesses, how to reach out to your civic leagues and meet with these important community leaders and find out what's important to them. Chesapeake is huge, like you mentioned before. And so my husband is my campaign manager, and he loves everything.
How was that process? No, I'm joking.
It was actually, we've been married 20 years. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
It was really good. He's always been probably the more politically engaged on that side of it. I feel like I've been more engaged through the advocacy role, but he's always been, even when we were teenagers, he's always been super interested in politics. And so he loved it. And he was able to lean on those people. He has a book about being a campaign manager. Like, we really dug in. I watched every former Chesapeake forum, because Chesapeake does hold candidate forums. I was on YouTube every day, even while I was working. It was playing like a podcast beside me, listening to the questions, listening to people's answers, listening to what was important to the community members. And for me, I kind of ate, lived, sleep, breathed running. And so it was taxing, because I also have a full-time job. And I also chair the Chesapeake Commission on Health and Wellbeing. And like you mentioned, I have kids and a husband, and, I volunteer. But one thing that I told people in that week before the election, when everybody was like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling good? Do you think you're going to win? What are my response was, win or lose, I have met so many people that I would not have probably met. I've had conversations that I probably would not have had the opportunity to have. I've gotten more plugged into communities in a way that I probably wouldn't have before. And so by that last week, I kind of felt like, win or lose, all the opportunities that came with it, I wasn't going to stop working in these communities. I wasn't going to stop having these conversations. I wasn't going to stop pursuing what I can do to help the community. And I was really just grateful for all the opportunities that it afforded me. Of course, I wanted to win. That's the end goal. But I had a lot of gratitude for the whole process, really.
No, I asked that, and I appreciate you sharing that with our listeners, because we have a lot of folks, and I encounter a lot of folks that are saying, hey, look, I am possibly interested in in running, or just, again, you mentioned new administration, very controversial administration. A lot of my listeners know for sure how I'm not a fan of this administration at all. I mean, I'm in the middle. I've kind of gone on the attack on both sides, just out of, just, again, I'm just being honest here, of when I see somebody do right, I talk about it. When I see somebody do wrong, I talk about it. And it's a lot of stuff happening where we have, folks that are wanting to pursue, but it takes more than just saying, well, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna run. It does take putting in the work. It does take, educating yourself, checking out past forms. Like, I mean, you really, you studied the role. And like you said, you ate, slept, ran, running. So that was really good. School board. Now, Chesapeake School Board, or the position of a school board member. Could you please share with our listeners, what is that role? What does that role entitle? Like, for a lot of folks that, are unaware of school board, it's like, I check a random name. I'm just keep it moving. I know mayor, I know city council, and then I know governor, and that. So if you don't mind sharing the position of a school board member, and what is that job in do?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what the school board does and can do, honestly. It's not just this sweeping board that you get on and then you can just start making all of these huge changes and overruling the superintendent or overruling state mandates and things like that. We really are a board, and we make decisions together. And the two big things that we do is we approve the budget annually, and that's put forth by the school. And then we approve the strategic plan. And then we work on decision making to support those decisions, how the money is going to be spent, and then how the strategic plan is going to be carried out. So I would say, yes, all the smaller things that we chime in on too, but the big overarching, the ones that we really pay a lot of attention to and really try to make good decisions on, because those are the two decisions that affect the rest of the year. Your budget and your strategic plan are really what sets the stage for the coming years and the success in the coming years. And so we spend a lot of time on that. And then outside of that, we're really there to guide the decision making. So, for instance, if there are things happening in the elementary schools or middle schools or high schools, the parents feel like maybe aren't being resolved successfully, there's a chain of command and they can appeal up to the school board. And then that's when we chime in on those types of decisions. We can support the superintendent's decision on things, or we can, push back on some of the superintendent decision on things. And so really the way I like to think of it is, you wouldn't just want one individual being able to make every single decision for a school system. But you also can't have every member of a community vote on every decision that the superintendent makes. So what is the happy medium? The happy medium for that is to have a board that the city does get to elect. And then that board is kind of there again, so that you don't just have one individual just being able to single-handedly make every decision for the school system. Where that connection between the community and the administration is the way that I try to explain it.
Gotcha. And the public school system, is that, is that grade, like, what is that to like K-5, or does that start with first grade through 12th? What's the
K-12?
K
through 12.
K through 12. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I want to ask the question, more questions in regards to the city of Chesapeake's public school system. But okay, we fast forward from the journey with the running the campaign, then you end up turning out as the winner, which how was that feeling the day of the election? Because again, it was very recent. It was just last November you were elected. And so how was that feeling on seeing your name on that list on the local news. You had the local news showed all the what's the word I'm looking for? I can't even get the word out. Yes, the ticker. And it's funny because I have one here and I'm like, what is the ticker? Yes, on the ticker it showed okay, the results are in, and your name was mentioned as newly elected school board member. How did that you feel?
So I will tell you, a lot of us were at a restaurant, a lot of fellow candidates that were running for other races, and then just supporters. And I was just constantly refreshing my phone, and my friends took my phone away from me. They literally took it and they hid it at the other table, and they said, we're not going to give it back to you. We'll keep you updated. And so I knew that they were going to know before it was on TV because we were tracking it online as everything was coming in. And my husband walks over to the table and he was so calm that it threw me off because he said, well, it's done. You won. And I was like, your reaction is not matching the words that are coming out of your mouth right now. And he's like, you did it. Like you did it. You won. And it was very exciting. Going into this as a first time, kind of a known name in that realm candidate, in a city that historically elects mostly Republican endorsed candidates for the school board.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
And he had run before. He had the name recognition, and so I almost didn't expect to win the first time. I almost thought this was going to be more of get your name out there, learn how to run a campaign, make the connections so that you can be more prepared.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're fine. And it just, I was shocked. I think I was more shocked by the number than I was like, yes, it was shocking that I won, but we worked really hard. I was more shocked, I think, by the total vote count. It was very high for a school board candidate, especially for a democratically endorsed school board candidate. And so I was just really grateful, honestly, just for everybody that helped me. I feel like I can't say thank you enough. And I was really excited. I am one of those people that I like to work really hard and then see the fruits of my labor. I think we all do that. And this was the first time that I didn't have the control over it. So in my job, I can work really hard and get promoted. At school, I can work really hard and make good grades. Those are direct outcomes to my effort. This was the first time that I could put in all the work and still not have won. And so that was really difficult for me mentally. And so I think winning was more like, okay, like we did it. And I say we because it was such a group.
It takes a village to do it. Yeah. It sounds like Dr. Quillin, you had a Susan Lucci moment winning the Emmy. They love me. They really love me. No, but you're absolutely right. And you nailed it right on the head. Chesapeake, and I've said this time and time again, and it's funny because a lot of my Democratic friends, had disagree with me, but I've said Chesapeake, in my opinion, is a red city. Yes, I get it. The city has voted for a Democratic president and leaned more Democratic when it's the governors. But I always pay attention on the local side. When it comes to city council, school board, Democrats are the minority on the council. So you're absolutely right. To win on a school board, which really the school board is, a little more conservative than city council as far as the number of publicly known Democrats that are on school board. So it was a big deal, and it was again for a newcomer. But again, that just speaks volumes because Dr. Quillin, I feel as though currently it's just a shift right now. A lot of folks are tired, and you see a shift from long-standing Republicans saying, I'm leaving my party because it's just enough is enough. Some of them I've switched all the way over to the left. Some of them have switched and say, look, I'm independent. I just can't do it. And that's going on local, state, and federal level. And so we're seeing this shift now, which again, I love seeing change. I love the changes to me is growth. It's not, I don't use the word change. I use, it's growing. It's a growing time when you start bringing in more diversity of voices. So again, congrats on that. Now that you hold that position, it's work that needs to be done. What are some of your key issues that you would love to pursue now being serving on the school board?
So I got really lucky, and this was not on purpose. When they handed me the strategic plan booklet, I realized that 3 of the points in the strategic plan were 3 of the issues that I ran on. And so I think that just goes to show that the things that are important to me are important to everyone. And so for me, I think it's continuing to improve the safety of our schools, which we are working on. We're working on putting more safety vestibules in the elementary schools like we have at the high schools and the middle schools, where you have that extra layer when you enter the school building, that little extra layer of security by having the double door system.
Got you.
We're continuing to work on our resource officer programs with the police department and the sheriff's department, and continuing to kind of look at potential upgrades for the safety of our students and teachers. And so that's something that I want to really continue focusing on. Right now, for anybody that doesn't know, we are in the search for a new superintendent. And so that's something that has kind of jumped to the top of the priority list because our current superintendent, Dr. Cotton, is leaving at the end of June. And so we're accepting applications right now. We're going to have a lot of time to look at those, to do interviews and, all those sorts of things. So for the next 6 months, 5 months or so, that will be a big priority because it's an important job. It's a lot of students. It's a big school system. We're not perfect, but we do have a lot of positives, and we want to hire somebody that's going to continue that positive work, and then is going to continue supporting the things that are important to the community. And so it's a big responsibility. And so I'm looking forward to having a voice in that decision. And then I think the third thing really is focusing on the mental health and well-being of our students and teachers. It is rough right now. I have teenagers. My friends have teenagers. I think everybody's anxious, and it's this constant, we've just been chatting about, it's this constant flow of information now with the internet and smartphones and social media. And I think it's kind of overwhelming for our kids. And so I want to continue to find ways that we can support the mental health and wellness of our students, but also not forgetting that those teachers in the classroom also need those same mental health and wellness supports. And so I want to make sure that we are not losing sight of things that we can be doing to improve on both of those areas.
Awesome. Dr. Quillin, I want to ask about capacity level in schools. You mentioned there's a lot of students in the public school, in the Chesapeake public school system. As I mentioned earlier, I was never, all my life that I lived in Chesapeake, I was a private school kid. I went to school in another city, but so I wasn't too aware. I had friends in the public school system in Chesapeake. So like if I would have let me see, my district was Hickory High School. So so Hickory would have been my school if I would have gone to public school. But I'm pulling the number of schools in the city of Chesapeake, and correct me if I'm wrong on some of these numbers, but around 28 elementary schools, 10 middle schools, and 7 high schools. So I know there has been conversations of capacity level. Can these schools hold the number of students that we have? Is there, I don't know, has there been talks of, I don't know, possibly having an additional high school or part 1, part 2 side of a grass or something? Anything you would like to add to that as far as just capacity of high schools? Because it looks like it. I don't know. Hearing those numbers, I'm like, is there enough? Can they hold all those students?
So actually, there's a slideshow that's available right now. It's available publicly on the school district's website, where you can look at. There's a new zoning recommendations coming up, and that is because we're building a brand new elementary school at Culpeper Landing, and that information is also publicly available online. We're seeing a lot of that in the. That's going to really help with the elementary schools. With the overcrowding, it is going to require a little bit of rezoning, which I know parents don't like to hear that word, full transparency, myself, when we were talking about that in my area, I wasn't a huge fan of that word. So I understand. But it's not going to be a drastic rezoning, and it's only going to affect the elementary schools. But there are 4 proposed rezoning plans out there that parents can look at and and they've broken it down by the pros and cons of each rezoning option. And they include a chart with each option of how it changes the capacity levels. So it shows the current capacity level. If we choose rezoning option 1, this would become the new capacity. If we chose zoning option 2, this would become the new capacity. And so the great thing is that if this, once this goes into place, we're going to take our use of portables down drastically, and really help with the capacity issue. What's really caused a lot of it is the developments keep popping up in the same parts of the city. So when these large developments of 50 plus homes all keep being built in the same school zone or in the same 2 school zones, you can kind of see how that capacity can jump up.
Continues to shoot up.
And so really the only way to deal with that is to build new schools where they're needed, like Culpeper Landing is an example, and to unfortunately rezone when you have to, which again, none of us love. But we also don't love having our kids learning in portables all the time either. So it's kind of, there's no perfect answer, but as population in certain parts of the city goes up more than in other parts, it kind of causes that imbalance. But it's definitely something on the radar and something that we're always keeping an eye on.
Yeah, and I feel as though like that's something that has been in conversation, like in all of the 7 cities, including Chesapeake here in the Hampton Roads area, because we are seeing just like new luxury apartments being built, new neighborhoods. Like it's always something new, and I'm just like easy because I went to a small school. I went to Chewan University. For those who don't know what Chewan University, it's a small school in a rural area of North Carolina. Probably 200 people lived in that town, or still does, but it's very, very small. And the university was building so many apartment style dorms, but it's like, okay, wait a minute, you're bringing on these students, but do you have the room for it? Do you have it wasn't for me, it wasn't making sense at the time, but I'm seeing that now, like in cities like Norfolk, Hampton, anywhere that has some form of like, or Virginia Beach, anywhere that has some form of like a downtown area, they're continue to build up. So I know it can be very stressful for those public schools. What are some other issues, Dr. Quillin, in regards to like that needs to be dealt with in Chesapeake public schools? Because I know that there's in certain areas there's older schools that can be in use of some facelift, and then there's certain parts of Chesapeake that is like, hey, they have the state of the art, they're always getting like how are y'all or as a board making sure every school district is kind of treated fairly, treated equally when it goes to, hey, look, what is what are their needs, at least meeting their needs?
Yeah, that's something I'm still learning. I've only had I think 3 or 4 meetings under my belt now, and so as a new school board member, I'm still learning how those decisions are made. Gotcha. They did go over the capital improvement plan with me in detail, and again the strategic plan, and again those are also publicly available. And so I think looking at the capital improvement plan, I can see that as a board and as a school system, we recognize where those needs are, and we recognize which schools need the upgrades and the facelifts or totally rebuilt. It's just, I'm still learning how those priorities are decided. Sometimes it is just need, they have assessments done where they'll say, this building isn't great, but it can last this many more years. Whereas this building over here can't last that many more years. So we're going to have to shift. So they do those, they do assessments like that to kind of determine where the most need is. So those are things that I'm still learning, but I do encourage everyone to, dig into those things that are available on the website, dig into the capital improvement plan and the strategic plan, and kind of look at the areas they've identified that need
Mm-hmm.
assistance. And then I would also tell people, come to the school board meetings. Come and speak at the school board meetings, send emails. If you do see something like that, I always encourage people to, bring attention to it. That's what we're there for, is to hear from the community. And so, yeah, there's, again, sorry if that's not the greatest answer.
No. I appreciate it because, I'm asking these questions because, as I mentioned, I am like, when it comes to school board, I'm unaware. And then on top of that too, when I always have interaction with folks and they're speaking on why don't they give, and it's like, it's hard to, how can I put it? Cause I'm not an elected official. So it's always hard for the public can say one thing, but they really don't know how the operation goes. And that's why that question came up to mind. Cause I've had I've interacted with a few people in different districts, and sometimes they feel overlooked, or they feel like, hey, no one pays attention on this side. They just gave up. So that was one question that came up to mind. You mentioned earlier about mental health being a big issue that you want to continue to see at least mental health initiatives improve in the school system. If you don't mind expanding on that, because you're absolutely right. We live in an era where social media has continued to grow, and there's so many ways where folks can get bullied, or folks can feel left out, or it's troubling times. But if you don't mind expanding on some of those initiatives that you will love to see occur here in the city of Chesapeake in public schools.
Yeah, I think so. We are partnering now. I'd have to look up the name of it. We are partnering now with a mental health platform that allows students to access like virtual mental health. And so I think we need to do a better job maybe of promoting those things to parents. We kind of get inundated as parents with emails from the school. And so maybe look for some ways that we can better advertise the services that are available. And making sure our guidance counselors are supported and that we have enough to adequately staff every school. I've heard people say recently, not locally, but just, watching things online and social media. And I've heard people question the need for so many guidance counselors in our schools, and should that money be used for TAs or teachers instead? And I really don't want to see that shift. I want to make sure that we continue to have those resources there, especially for our students that might not have access to therapy, or whose parents might not know to navigate to these virtual platforms. Having that resource there in the school is really important. And so I want to make sure that we're continuing to prioritize those positions, and really just keeping the parents informed of what the resources are out there, and make sure that they know where to navigate to if their child is having issues. Because I think a lot of it, again, back to the healthcare issue, a lot of it just comes down to lack of knowledge about what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So
in your meetings that you've had, that you mentioned, it's open to the public some of the meetings are open to the public where, hey, speak your issues, what's on your mind, please share with us. How was that? Have you already had one of those, meetings during your term, and how was that experience? Because I know that can also be, that can be a good thing, and that can be a bad thing. Because for me, at least when what I've seen on whether if it's on the digital space or on national news, I mean, some of the school board meetings can get pretty intense when you have a lot of excuse my friends, pissed off parents that are like, listen, I don't think you like. How have you had any experience like that? Or hopefully, not knock on wood, you don't have anything like that. But how was your first meeting and interaction with parents?
We've definitely had some frustrated parents, passionate parents. I've been lucky so far that I have not been in person in a meeting where anybody has been acted out or been rude or belligerent or anything that we've had to, stop anyone from speaking or anything like that. I know that during COVID, they experienced a lot of that during those school board meetings. But up to this point, everyone that has come to speak has done so, again, passionately, but respectfully.
Yeah.
And I like that. part of it. Even when they're saying, harsh truths, or maybe they're being a little too critical because, I might know what's going on, behind closed doors or whatever. I still enjoy it. I think that is the beauty of the role and being involved in local politics, is you have to listen to the community. And if you're not willing to listen to the community, even when it's stuff you don't necessarily want to hear, then you really shouldn't be on city council or on the school board. If you're not willing to hear the good, bad, and ugly from the people that you're serving. So
one word, and before, because we're coming we're coming towards the end of our conversation, Dr. Quillin. Again, I truly appreciate you taking the time out your schedule to come here on the show. Transparency has always been a word that has been, coming up to mind, has been repeated around and around. Transparency. As a now, member of the Chesapeake School Board, how would you want to keep, or what are ways you are trying to, are you wanting to keep the transparency level between, say, parents and school board, as well as, students and school board? Like, outside of having the come to the school board meetings, do you do any, like, I don't know, Q&As with, in certain parts of Chesapeake or at some of the local schools, like, hey, look, we're gonna have a sit down conversation, just so I want to continue to keep you up to speed on what's occurring and what's the plans, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would love to see something like that. I don't think that it exists at this point. That is one of the things that I mentioned during my campaign that I would love to see, is more forums and roundtables or Q&A sessions that are maybe outside of the normal school board meeting. I know now that I have gone through orientation, I know that there are legal constraints to having things like that, because when so many school board members are present, then it's an official meeting and there are minutes, and it's public. So there is red tape to doing something like that, but I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility. So I would really like to see something like that for our teachers, where we have like designated listening time for them to speak without fear of retribution or anything like that. Not that I feel like that, I don't want it to sound like I think that I'm saying that is happening, but like right now with the superintendent search, we have meetings that are on the schedule that are specifically for the superintendent search, where people can come and they can speak on what they want to see in our next superintendent. And so I think it would be interesting to maybe have a similar working session for other purposes, where it's still public and it's still aired and there are still minutes, but it has a specific purpose, more for like what you mentioned, come to talk about how you're feeling on this issue, or, just kind of like an open forum situation where we can kind of see what is most concerning. And so again, I'm still new, so I'm not trying to come on and ruffle too many feathers right out of the gate, but that is something that I would like to see eventually, is kind of more opportunity for those conversations to take place. I will encourage people to, if you can't make it to the school board meetings, they are on YouTube. And so people can always go back and watch those, because I know it's hard on a Monday night to come out and sit at a school board meeting. And a lot of people don't like to read through the minutes either. Let's be honest, like, minutes aren't the most interesting thing to read through. So I always encourage people, they're on YouTube, go watch them, listen to them, kind of listen to what we're voting on, and kind of stay informed that way.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, Dr. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say, it's the people have to put in the work as well. And I've said that to our, our listeners many times. I'm like, look, I get it. Sometimes you feel like the elected official is not doing their part on staying transparent, but I'm like, there are ways. You have to understand that you do have a city website. As you mentioned, I'm putting up the website right here. I hope I have it right. This is the website where folks can know more about the everything's going on in Chesapeake public schools. But it's our duty as citizens, as voters, that we have to also, make sure we stay informed and do the work ourselves. Really quick, Dr. Quillin, there is and I probably should ask this question earlier, but there has been a teacher shortage. I feel like that's a nationwide shortage. In your mind, why do you think that is happening, and what are some ways, hopefully, that can stop that shortage from continuing?
Well, we have a nationwide issue with teacher pay, and I think that's the first reason is for other jobs that require a master's degree, your starting salary tends to be higher than what a starting salary is for a teacher. And so they have the education, they're the subject matter expert in the field, but the industry equivalency to what they make with a master's is not there for our teachers. And so I think first and foremost, they have to have the ability to live in the city that they're working in. If a teacher's starting pay, when you do that and you compare it to the cost of living in that community, when that pay is not enough to even keep up with the cost of living in that community, then that's not enough. Clearly, they should be able to live in the community that they're serving. And so I think the second thing I would say is just respecting their time. I don't know a single teacher that works within their contract hours. Every teacher I know works outside of their contract hours, and it's significant. I think I saw a study, and I can't quote the author, but I read a study that said it can be the equivalent of up to 15 additional days a school year if you counted up all the hours that they work outside of their, and that's on the low end. And so I think finding ways to be more respectful of that contract time. Teachers don't get paid overtime for putting in extra hours, and that includes extra hours in the morning when they have to come in early for bus ramp duty or stay after for bus duty, or even some teachers have to be a bus monitor, or they have to come in for extracurricular activities. In a normal role that would be considered above and beyond.
Absolutely.
And for them, it's all included in that one salary. And so I think those are the two biggest things I would say is looking for ways to pay them the equivalency for the education level that they have and the amount of work that they do. And then number two, making sure that we're respecting that time, giving them planning time, and making sure that they feel like a respected member of the community. They are the subject matter experts, and they should be treated as such.
I couldn't agree more, Dr. Quillin. Again, I truly appreciate you taking the time out your schedule, coming here on the show. Please do not be a stranger. I will, if it's okay, I would love to chop it up with you just for a couple seconds after this, after we finish this show. But y'all, I want to thank our guest, the Honorable Dr. Quillin, a Chesapeake School Board member, for being on. Thank you so much, and please don't be a stranger.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. My friends, I put up a website for those who are watching, for those who are listening. That website was cpschools.com. For those who live in Chesapeake, Virginia, and you want to know what's going on in the Chesapeake public school system, or, meetings, all that good stuff, check out that website. My friends, I hope you enjoyed this great conversation. Look, staying informed is everything. Staying informed is everything. So I hope and I pray that I can continue to be that bridge, or help kind of guide you into that pathway, and just have laid back great conversations. I want to thank my guest, Dr. Amanda Quillin, for coming on. Y'all know how to continue to tune into the show. All right, always stay informed, stay blessed, stay safe out there. I will talk to you soon for another great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. I'm out.
That's it for tonight on the Arrington Gavin Show. Thanks for tapping in and keeping the conversation alive. Don't forget, stay connected with us on all platforms. Follow at Arrington Gavin on Instagram, Blue Sky, and X, and subscribe to the official Substack for exclusive takes and deep dives you won't get anywhere else. We're here every weeknight, same time, same energy, same real talk. Until next time, stay bold, stay sharp, and stay true. That's what we do on the Arrington Gavin Show. Peace.